Welcome everybody. We're covering the month of Cheshvan, the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio in Hebrew is Akrab, the same as in Farsi and the same as in Arabic. And this is the name that was given by Abraham Avinu, the patriarch, in the book of Formation, Sefer Yetzirah. He calls this constellation Akrab, Scorpio. And the month he calls it Cheshvan. And later on in Talmud, they add an addition to the name and they call it Mar Cheshvan. And Mar means in Hebrew bitter. It's like a bitter Cheshvan. And it's the only month in the Hebrew calendar that there is no holiday in this month. Usually we have a holiday in every month that we have. Like the month of Tishrei, the sign of Libra that we studied the last time, had all the holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, everything. But comes Scorpio, comes the month of Cheshvan, and there is absolutely no holidays. The only month that has no holidays to it. And the thing that happened in this month are really strange. We know that the flood of the Noach started it in the month of Cheshvan. On the 17th day of the Cheshvan, the flood that destroyed the whole world happened on the 17th day of Cheshvan. And it's interesting to know that in Torah, when we read the story about the Noach and the Ark of the Noach and the flood, the Torah goes into details of the structure of the Ark. It's like written for an architect who can build the Ark. And you probably know that they actually built the Ark in one of the states, I believe in Kentucky or somewhere East Coast, that they built the Ark according to the measurement that it's in the Torah. Inch by inch, they made it exactly according to the size that the Torah gives. So we have to ask a question, why does Torah goes into the details of telling us how big was the ark, what was the length of it, what was the width, how it was constructed, and the total detail, the total measurement of the Torah, of the ark is mentioned in the Torah. We know that there is not a word extra in the Torah, not a letter, there is nothing extra in the Torah. Whatever is in Torah, it's a secret. It's a code. So why God spends so much ink on explaining the flood, Noach, and the ark, and why all the measurements? And I'm going to tell you a lot of freaky stuff about the Scorpio. You know, when we pray, when we meditate, there is a prayer that we call Amidah. You probably notice in the synagogue that the man and the woman stands and we do the prayer by ourselves. It's a silent prayer. And you're not supposed to move from your place. You're not supposed to react to anything when you're doing that prayer. Even if a snake comes around you, you shouldn't move. You shouldn't worry about the snake. You shouldn't worry about an earthquake. You shouldn't worry about anything when you're reading the Amidah. Only if a Scorpio comes by. If a Scorpio comes by, you should stop your tefillah and kill the Scorpio.
What?
Why? Why? And we learned in the class of Aries that the planet Mars rules over two signs, the Aries and now the Scorpio. Planet Mars stands for what? You remember? War. War. The planet Mars is red, which is Gevurah, which is judgment. Actually, in Sefer Yetzirah, in the book of Formation written by Abraham Avinu explains that the planet Mars contains all form of negative energies. Any form of negative energy that exists in the world comes from planet Mars. So am I right to say poor Scorpio? Everything, all kind of destruction, all kind of negativity, everything that we experience in the world of physicality as negative forces comes from the planet Mars. But then we'll see that the building of the Mishkan, the building of the tabernacle, was completed in the month of Scorpio as well. So it seems that there is a duality. All of a sudden, all the negative forces manifest themselves or awaken themselves in the month of Cheshvan. Then the building of the tabernacle, the conclusion of the building of the tabernacle and the Tamerdosh happened in the month of Cheshvan. There is a duality. There are two letters that controls the month of Cheshvan, Scorpio. The letter Dalet, that controls the planet of Mars, Ma'adim, and the letter Nun, that creates the constellation of Scorpio. Dalet and Nun. And together, it's Din. Din means judgment. Somehow, there is a secret into this month. There is a month, the month of Scorpio. That somehow, there is some form of judgment exists in the month of Cheshvan. And in order to totally understand the Scorpio, we should learn a little bit about the animal Scorpio. We know that the animal Scorpio is blind. Is blind. The Scorpio lives itself by the power of sensation, by its feeling. By its feeling. And the other thing is that when Scorpio feels danger, when they feel threatened, they kill themselves. They bite themselves and they kill themselves. Another thing that the Scorpio does is, they usually carry their babies on their back. But if they become very hungry, if they start starving and there is nothing to eat, you know what they do? They eat their own babies. I don't know about this.
That's a whole other level.
And then, another interesting thing about the Scorpio is they did this examination. They wanted to see what survives after an atomic bomb. What kind of living will survive the atomic bomb? And the only thing that survives the atomic bomb is what?
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
How do they do that?
I'm not sure, but it's a scientific fact that what happened. Yeah. But don't feel too bad if you're a Scorpio. Don't feel too bad. There are a little bit of good news. According to Zohar, the most powerful day, the strongest connection to the life force of God is the first day of the month of Cheshvan, and the month of Scorpio. The most powerful day, the most positive day, the day that you can connect to the ultimate life force of God. We're talking about day, not Shabbat, not holidays. Because Shabbat has its own energy, holidays have their own energy. When it comes to day by itself, the most powerful day, the day that is most positive, and you can directly connect yourself to the life force of God, is Cheshvan. And we have always 2 days of beginning of the month. There are 2 days of Rosh Chodesh of Cheshvan. So at least there is something to be happy about. The inner energy of the Scorpio is what?
Water.
Fire. The inner energy is fire. But the external energy is water. That's why Scorpio is considered to be a water sign, because the external energy is water, but the inside is fire.
But don't they balance each other out?
Water and fire, how do they balance each other out? They don't. They don't. They're totally opposite of each other. What a Scorpio feels outside is quite different what they feel inside. Scorpio usually get heartburn. They have problem with their stomach. Why? Because of the fire that is inside. There is one good day beside the Rosh Chodesh of Scorpio. There is actually another good day, another positive day in the month of Scorpio. Don't feel so bad, Scorpios. The birthday of the Benjamin, the righteous, the last son of Yaakov, is the 11th day of Mar Cheshvan. But the sad news is, that is the day that his mom, Rachel, passed away. When Rachel gave birth to Benjamin, she died. So the birthday And the passing day of Rachel and Benjamin, it's in the 11th day of Scorpio. And we know that the Torah talks about Benjamin as righteous. Torah talks about 3 people as righteous. 2 people are somehow born righteous. One is Noah, that Torah says he was righteous among his generation. Then is Benjamin, who was righteous. And then there is Yosef this righteous. Yosef earned the righteousness. How? You guys know the story of Yosef?
I know.
By not falling into the trap of Zolecha, the Potiphar's wife. You guys know the story of Yosef? Yes? No? Who doesn't know the story of Yosef? Okay. Yosef is sold by his brother to Egypt, and this big shot guy, Potiphar, buys him, makes him a slave for his wife. And Yosef is quite handsome, very, very handsome, considered to be the most handsome man ever was created. And the wife of Potiphar falls in love with Yosef. Actually, Yosef likes her too. And one day, she wants to have sex with him. And he restricts himself, he pushes her away, and he doesn't fall into the trap of that adultery. And because he controlled his sexual desire, his passion, he became righteous. And the Mehuganim explains that the fact that Benjamin, these are all secret about the month of Scorpio, I'm not just telling you stories. It has to do with the power of month of Cheshvan. Actually, the reason that Benjamin was righteous, Benjamin is one of the few souls in this world that they never commit any sin. Benjamin was perfect from A to Z, from day 1 to the end of days of his life. And the reason he was righteous was when Yosef got lost, for 22 years, I guess, he was away from his family, and his father was in sadness. Benjamin did get married, but he never got close to his wife. He never had, intercourse with his wife, because his father was in sadness, and he couldn't do that. He couldn't come close to his wife. So he stayed away from the joy of being intimate with his wife. And that was one of the reasons that he was righteous. So we see there is, and the reason, do you guys know the reason of the flood of Noah? What was the biggest problem at that time? It says in the Torah, and it says in Talmud, and all the books that we have, that the people at the era of Noah were very, very dark. In what aspect? In sexuality. In sexuality. There was no respect of sexuality at the time of the Noah. Everything was totally wrong and totally dark, and we're not going to get into that, but that was the reason that the earth became corrupted, because people got corrupted. There was no dignity in sexual relationship. And what happened? God destroyed the whole earth for one time, and Noah with his family, with his sons, with his daughter and sons and his in-laws, and the animals of that time were all saved by the ark, and which the ark, and it's very, very interesting that every year at the month of Cheshvan, one of the parsha that we read is Noah. Always Scorpio starts right after all the holidays of Tishrei. So the beginning of all the parashut that we read, the first Shabbat of the month of Scorpio is Noah, the flood, the ark. What does it have to do with Scorpio? Okay, let's get into the characteristic of a Scorpio. Let's have some fun. I don't know it's much of a fun, especially if you're a Scorpio, but let's diagnose how a Scorpio thinks. I have only a few positive aspects, and there are a lot of not so positive. But for the people who don't know, I'm a Scorpio myself, so relax. Scorpios are very, very strong. Very, very strong-minded people. very strong will. That's good, huh? That's not bad. Very strong will, very determined. They have a very strong desire, and they usually get what they want. They have a lot of energy, lots of energy. Scorpio has a lot of energy. But Scorpios are governed by their feeling. They are absolutely under the control of their feeling. A Scorpio is all about feeling. They're very, very, very sensitive. Scorpios are very, very sensitive. They run by their emotion. There is no logic into DNA of a Scorpio. Scorpio does not understand logic. They always have problem with logic. Always have problem with logic. But when it comes to emotion, when it comes to intuition, they're very, very strong. They feel things. When they want to do things, when they make decision in their life, all the decision they make is based on their feeling, is based on their intuition. They go to a place, they like if the place feels good, they like it. If a Scorpio businessman wants to buy a business, first they feel the business. They don't look at the logic, they don't look at the papers. The energy of the place is good, it's a good thing. They like somebody, it's based on the feeling. There is no logic into Scorpio's mind. When a Scorpio is in pain, and I'm talking about emotional pain, spiritual pain, they fall into crisis. They completely go out of balance. They lose their control, they lose their cool, they go into crisis. When they have pain emotionally, spiritually, they may scream, they may cry, they may become violent. If you hurt a Scorpio, good luck. They forget everything good that you did to them. They forget all the good moments. They forget everything, and they want to revenge. Revenge is the name of the game for Scorpio. Revenge to the point of destruction. Revenge to the point of destroying themselves and destroying the other person. It doesn't matter. If you hurt a Scorpio, beware of it. They'll come after you. I told you guys this is tough.
Nader Ghiam, I love you. Remember that.
Another thing that kills a Scorpio, and is very, very strong, and it's very important to understand it, that they cannot stand lack. Any form of lack, in any form of situation, brings crisis to the emotion of the Scorpio. It makes them crazy. Any form of lack. Any form of lack. And we're going to learn more about it. What are we talking about? They don't like any form of control over themselves. They cannot stand people who control them. They cannot stand people that they order them. They cannot stand situations that they are limited, that they're not free to do what they want to do, to exercise what they think they want to do. Every time you control a Scorpio, they get crazy. They lose balance. They go into chaos. Usually Scorpio is a very difficult, has a difficult problem when there is a group meeting. Social meeting, group meeting. Oh my God, teamwork. And Scorpio wants to rule. Scorpio has to say the last word, the first word, the middle word, and the last word. They cannot stand being under control of anybody or anything. But, this is very important to understand. Very important to understand. They are they are good people. They are very good people. Their nature can be wonderful. They're very positive. They're very positive people. They are sharing people. They want to help. They want to share. But when they share, when they give, when they're good, there is an agenda to it. What is that agenda?
You see?
They want to control you. They want to control you. I take care of you, but you see, you're mine. I'm good to you, but you're now under my spell. See how good I am to you. See what I did for you. Now, you're my understudy. Oh my God. I see faces. But again, the nature is good. They do want to take care of you. They want to do good things to you. And that's their nature. And the nature of controlling you is part of it. It's just not that they necessarily are giving this to you because they want to control you, but that's just part of the game. And again, I'm going to emphasize on this because this is very important for all the Scorpions and the people who are with the Scorpios, because this is very important how we can improve, the Scorpios can improve themselves, and the people who are with the Scorpio can improve their relationship. When I say that the Scorpio cannot stand lack, I'm talking about all kind of stuff. Money. Scorpio cannot stand the lack of not financially being stable. Scorpio cannot stand the lack of not having a good position. Attitude. Everything that you could imagine, every aspect of life, if there is a lack to it, they go out of balance, they go crazy. Now, one of the worst problems of the Scorpio, oh my God, it's so much. The worst problem of the Scorpio is jealousy. Jealousy. And I have to explain this. You remember we talked about Leo, and Leo has jealousy too? Leo has constructive jealousy. When a Leo looks at somebody and somebody is successful, the Leo gets motivated to become successful because they're jealous. You know, this guy is in a good position. I want to be like him, so I strive to be there. Scorpio, the jealousy of Scorpio comes from what? The lack. The lack. Why I don't have that? Why I don't have that position? Why I'm not there? And that is the root of the jealousy of the Scorpio that we're talking about. And it's a destructive form of a jealousy. So Leo's jealousy is constructive. Scorpio's jealousy is destructive. Did I talk about revenge?
Yes.
Yes. Revenge. The most important thing, revenge. They remember what you did to them forever. They remember the hurt, the pain, the cut, the emotional pain, the emotional lack. I remember things from my childhood when people said something to me that it was so hurtful. I still remember it. I still remember who did what to me. I still remember who told me what, especially if it was hurtful. It never goes away. It becomes part of a being of Scorpio. But don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Scorpio is brave and not so brave, and they are brave in physical things. They're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of getting caught. They're not afraid of getting injured. They're powerful somehow in physicality. They're not afraid of that. What are they afraid of? Emotional hurt. Emotional hurt. Emotional pain. They run away from getting hurt emotionally. They're afraid that people won't love them. They're afraid people wouldn't trust them. Scorpio always has a fear that his spouse or her spouse might leave him. Scorpio is always afraid that he might get hurt in a relationship, that he or she might cheat on him, might leave him. Scorpio is so afraid of being alone. One of the biggest fear of my life is, God forbid, one day they put me in a room by myself, like in a prison. It's the biggest fear for me. I used to have, as a childhood, I used to have nightmares of being prison. I still carry with me the fear of being lonely. I still fear of losing my loved ones. Still runs very, very deep. I have phobias. It's very, very powerful. And where is it coming from again? The lack. The lack of not having it. You know, all these characteristics that I talk about, I hope that at the end of the class we totally understand why we need a Scorpio, why such an energy exists in this world, and why Scorpios are so important in this world. But don't fall into the trap of this characteristic, because there is a huge, huge lesson to be learned. Scorpio may look very cool outside. They look very cold outside, but inside, there's nothing cool about their inside. There's a lot of heat inside. They don't show it, but they constantly have emotional disturbances within them. Scorpio usually is always in crisis. Okay. And they can be very stubborn. I'm so sorry, guys. This is too much, but we understand. Why are they stubborn? Why Scorpio is stubborn? We learned Aries is stubborn, right? Why Aries was stubborn? Because they know what they think is right. That's the only way. Why Scorpio is stubborn? Because they might be under your control. You may say something that wants to control them. So if they're stubborn on their idea because they don't want to be under your spell, nobody tells a Scorpio what to do. The Scorpio tells people what to do. It's very difficult to change their mind, to convince them of something logical. It's very, very difficult. I'm going to repeat this again because it's very, very important for everybody to understand. It's almost impossible, and I say almost, not 100%, to convince a Scorpio by logic. They are very, very connected to passion. They are very connected that everything that comes with feeling and passion. Usually in all books that you read about Scorpios as far as astrology concerned, they always relate Scorpio with sex, with the passion of sex. And we understand why. Some good aspect now. Let's talk about a few good aspects of Scorpio, all right? Don't get so sad. Scorpio is very, very dedicated to their purpose. Very dedicated to their purpose. They're very, very responsible. Hey! Some good things. They're very reliable. They're very honest. They're very honest in their relationship. If they give their commitment, they stay with their commitment. If they are with you, they are with you. They are with you to carry you. They are with you to support you. They are there to be with you. They are there to take care of you. And you can rely on them. The most responsible sign. That's not bad. Most responsible sign of the astrology is the Scorpio. The most reliable one. Most committed. They have a power to control people. They have a power to hypnotize you. They do control, they do hypnotize. Sorry, that's what it is. And we understand all these characteristics. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the end result, but it's so fascinating. They could be very mean. They could become very nasty and mean. They may do things without any calculation. They may do things very unexpectedly, very unexpectedly. Once again, with the Scorpio, it's all about feeling. It's all about feeling. There is no logic into feeling. There is no controlling in feelings. There is nothing ordinary about feeling. You're high today, you're low tomorrow. You're high now, 2 minutes later, your emotion runs like a water. They have the water, so they go up and down, they go up and down, and they're ruled by feeling, they're ruled by emotion. And one thing that kills a Scorpio is when they expect to get something and they don't get it. Again, it's a form of a lack. They can, you know, this is something very interesting. I like this section, this part. They're very secretive, very secretive. They like things to be secret about them. You can't really learn about everything that the Scorpio does. The Scorpio does things in a secretive way, in a hiding things. They don't tell everything. They keep things in secret. They don't reveal themselves totally. Why? So you cannot control them. So they leave a room, they leave a space to get out. They leave a space not to get hurt. They do everything not to get hurt, not to be controlled. Okay, what else? All right. No, some good stuff, some good stuff. They're very creative. Their artistic value is high. They love to love. They're loving people. They're lovers. They're great lovers. They love art. They love music. They love movies. They love things that has to do with beauty. They appreciate beauty. They appreciate art. That's not bad. Did I say they're responsible?
Yes.
Yeah, they're very responsible. I don't have much of a positive, so I have to repeat it over and over again. And when you give them a job, Scorpio does it perfect. They take responsibility, they do a perfect job. In a way, Scorpio is either does a job very, very good, or they're not good at all. They're not good at all. You know, some people can do a little bit of everything. Gemini can do a little bit of everything. You know, with Gemini, give cooking to a Gemini, give plumbing to a Gemini, give studying to a Gemini, art to a Gemini, no problem. Scorpio, in some aspect, they are zero. And some aspect, they are wonderful. So they are very, very extreme. Very extreme. Another good positive note I found. They're very hard worker. They work very, very hard. Did I say responsible? Yeah.
Let's ask your wife.
My poor wife. All right. Okay. That's enough. That's enough of characters. It's enough for one night. Let's get into the secret of the Scorpio. Why do we need a Scorpio? With all these extreme characters, extreme behaviors, why God created the Scorpio? Why the month of Scorpio comes right after Tishrei, which is the holiest month of the year? You know, the month of Tishrei, it's a big bang. It starts with Rosh Hashanah. The first 2 days of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah. Week after, Yom Kippur. 4 days later, Sukkot, Simchat Torah, you name it. I mean, it's all there. And then comes a Scorpio, nothing. Nothing. It's like all the light presents itself in the month of Tishrei. And then a month after, for the whole 30 days, there is absolutely no light shining. Why? And you have to ask a question, and one of the most fundamental questions in Kabbalah is, what comes first? What was there first in the beginning, before the Big Bang? First was the light, right? Always light comes first. The light force of God was the only thing that existed in the Ein Sof, in the world before the Big Bang, the physicality. So Tishrei is like light force. But then, can the light shows itself without any vessel? No. In order for you to experience the light, you need some form of vessel. You need some form of physicality, some form of vessel to manifest the light. And guess what? The Scorpio has the embodiment, the most power vessel to shine this light, to manifest this light. In reality, Tishrei, Libra, is all about potential of the light. And Scorpio can bring this light to the physical manifestation. The fact that there is no holidays in Scorpio, the Scorpios shouldn't take it as an insult. No. The Scorpio now can and should, and they have the power to manifest that light, to bring it down. It's like you go to the shopping center, you go to a farmer's market. I love farmer's market. You go to a farmer's market, you get all this food, but then you got to bring it home and do something about it. Receiving all the light, receiving all the blessing in the month of Tishrei doesn't do you any good unless you bring it home, unless you manifest it. So, in a month of Cheshvan, things totally can become manifest. They can become a reality. We say the animal Scorpio is blind, and it runs by emotion. Why God made the Scorpio absolutely blind? When you lose some form of energy in the five senses, the other senses become stronger. That's why the Scorpio has this amazing sense. Intuition. They can walk into a room and totally feel the room. They can see somebody and totally feel the other person, good or bad. And most of the time, if they're not governed by some form of negativity, they're right. They're right. If a Scorpio is balanced, their feeling is their best vehicle, is their best weapon. Intuition is their best thing. You see, it's not so bad. Now we said that when the Scorpio feels threatened, it kills itself. You know, if you know a Scorpio, if you're not a Scorpio and you know a Scorpio, when a Scorpio gets mad, gets upset, gets hurt, they do hurt the other person. They go after hurting the other person. They go to kill. But their reaction, their reactive behavior actually kills them first. They're their own worst enemy. They're their own worst enemy. There is more to it. The concept of suicide comes from this aspect of what the Scorpio has. When the Scorpio kills itself, when does the Scorpio kill itself? When it feels threatened, when it's scared. When are we scared? When we don't see the light. Or we're so much into darkness that we're so afraid, and we're afraid of walking into the darkness and see the light in the darkness. In Kabbalah we learn that the people who do commit, God forbid, commit suicide, is the biggest sin, it's the biggest short circuit. And in Kabbalah we learn that the people that, God forbid, they commit suicide, they're the most selfish people. In what way? They rather to die. They rather to see the darkness for good. They want to shut down the light on themselves. Because for them it's so hard to walk into the darkness, to meet the challenges. So when the Scorpio animal kills itself, because he's afraid, because he's blind. He's blind, and he runs by emotion, and because he's blind and only feels the fear totally takes over. Now, I want to teach you something very Kabbalistically that if you understand it, you will totally capture the secret of the Scorpio. We said that Abraham Avinu, this is pure Kabbalah now. Pay attention. A little bit technical, but it's very fascinating. Abraham Avinu named this month what? Scorpio is what? Akrab in Hebrew. Akrab. Akrav. Akrab is 4 letters. Ain, Kuf, Resh, and Bet at the end. Ain, Kuf, Resh, and Bet. The first letter, Ain, the numerical value of Ain is 70. The numerical value of Bet is 2. So, in the name Akrav, there is Ain and Bet, which is the 72. What is 72? The 72 names of God. The totality of the light force. The power to control everything. The power to control everything. A person who can understand and connect to the 72 names connects to the all form of energy that exists in this world and has absolute control over everything. Adam Arishon, Adam, in the Garden of Eden, before he committed the sin, he was in control of everything in his life. He named all the vegetation. He named all the animals. He was in control of everything. All the creation of the world were afraid of Adam because he was totally in control. Adam has had absolute control of the 72 names, of the Ayin Bet Shemot. Ayin Bet Shemot. So we see in the name Akrav exists what? Ayin Bet Shemot. The absolute light force of God. The totality of all the light force. Everything. Everything is within the reach of the Scorpio. Wow. So what's the problem? Between Ayin and Bet, there is Kuf and Resh. Kuf is the only letter that goes behind the line. Where is the Kuf? You see the Kuf?
Yeah.
Is the only Hebrew letter that goes below the line. All the Hebrew letters are written within 2 lines. There are 2 letters. Letter Lamed that goes above the line, and there is letter Kuf that goes under the line. What does that mean? Kuf means stuck. Stuck, being stuck in the word of physicality. And Resh is one of the negative letters of the Hebrew word. The 2 letters of Kuf and Resh creates the word Kar, which means cold, which means negativity. The Zohar explains that all the negative forces in the world, all the negative attribute of any form of negativity comes from the 2 letters of Kuf and Resh. So what Akrab has? The totality of the 72 names, the totality of the light force, but this totality of the light force is been stuck around Kuf and Resh. Now does it make sense? Does it make sense? That's why the first 2 days of Scorpio are the most positive days of the year, because the Rosh Chodesh of every month, the beginning of every month, is the most positive, is the energy, intelligence of that month. So the first 2 days of the month of Scorpio, the month of Cheshvan, contains the absolute light force of God. But as the month proceeds and it goes on, then the Kuf and Reish take over, and they bring destruction, they bring negativity. That's why the flood happened in the month of Scorpio. And that's why the Mishkan was built in the month of Scorpio. This duality exists within the Scorpio. Now, we said the Talmud calls this month Mar Cheshvan. Mar Cheshvan, a bitter Cheshvan. Why? Because if the Scorpio doesn't control himself, if the Scorpio doesn't become spiritual, if the Scorpio doesn't connect to the 72 names, the Scorpio will be under influence of Kuf and Reish, which becomes the most negative sign of the month, sign of the year. But if the Scorpio becomes spiritual, if the Scorpio connects and controls his negativity, controls his reactive behavior, controls himself, instead of this power of control that we talk about that exists within the Scorpio, is for what purpose? Controlling himself. Controlling himself. Controlling his own emotion. Controlling his own reactive behavior. Not going after people. We said that Scorpio goes crazy when they feel fear, when they're afraid, when they feel pain. When do they feel pain? When they're connected to Kuf and Reish. To the aspect that there is no light in it. So when the Scorpio totally connects itself to Ayin Bet Shemot, that's a wonderful Scorpio. That's the most amazing Scorpio. That's a Scorpio in control. That's a Scorpio who wants to give without any control agenda connected to it. We said that Scorpio is the most powerful sign. Why they are the most powerful sign? Because they have the Ayin Bet Shemot. We said the planet Mars controls this month. Planet Mars is a planet of war. Scorpio has to go to war with who?
Himself.
With himself. Or herself. Has to look into himself. Has to control his emotion. You know, the two letters of Dalet and Nun. And if you don't study Kabbalah, I'm afraid Scorpio gets totally lost. Scorpio is out of control. If I hadn't learned Kabbalah, I don't know what would have happened to me. And met. I wouldn't know what would have happened to me. Before Kabbalah, I was the most reactive, emotional, sensitive, blame the whole world. Everybody hurts me. I want to take a revenge of everybody. Revenge was written all over my forehead. It was in my heart. I wanted to control everybody and everything with the negativity. I was in the crisis always. I used to cry so much during my childhood and my younger times. Everything would kill me. Every form of lack would kill me. Every form of not being in control of my situation would destroy me. I always felt within me that there is an energy force. I always knew the presence of the light force in my life. I always knew something more bigger than me exists in this world. I always knew, I sensed that it was in me. But then Kabbalah helped me to totally connect to it. Kabbalah is like a glass of cold water for a heart of Scorpio that is full of fire. Within the Scorpio is the fire. And the only thing that calms that fire down is connecting to Ayin Bet Shemot, to the spirituality. You know, on Shabbats, I don't want Shabbats to finish. I don't want Shabbats to finish. Comes Friday night, it's like somebody takes the control switch out of me. I love it. I love the holidays. I can't wait for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to come. When I was much younger, I hated Yom Kippur. Oh, it's the day of fasting and pain and crying and going to synagogue all day. Are you kidding me? Now, the most joyful day for me is Yom Kippur. Because now I understand that Yom Kippur, I receive the energy that we're going to learn about it. It's the energy that comes from the consciousness of Bina, which is totality of the life force. I can't wait for the last 2-3 hours of Yom Kippur. The time of Neila is my time. Versus when I was younger, Neila was, I was counting minutes Yom Kippur to finish. Now, I don't break my fast until maybe 10 o'clock at night because I just don't want to let that go. Dalet and Nun. Dalet and Nun. Dalet represents it's the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it represents lack. Oops. Lack, Scorpio, right? Nun looks like what? The tail of a Scorpio, right? You see it?
Yep.
And Nun comes from the word Nefilah, which means falling. So Scorpio can either use the Dalet and Nun and change it to not to fall, not to be poor, to give, or if he's not in control, he would totally fall into the chaos. Now, we said, you know, when you study astrology outside Kabbalah astrology, when you study Scorpio, they always talk about sex. Excuse me. They always talks about passion of sex of Scorpio. Why?
It's all about
Sex is all about feeling. There's no logic in sex. There's no logic in passion. There's no logic to it. Passion is all about feeling. And when sex is used for all the wrong reason, it can be a destructive force. It can be a destructive force. But when the sexual relationship is controlled by love, by unity, it creates life. It creates children. So it's the most remarkable thing. So when the emotion is controlled for the right purpose, for the spiritual purpose, it creates light. It creates the Ayin Bet Shemot. But if the sexuality is abused, it creates chaos, which it did at the time of Noah. Who saved the people at that time? Noah was righteous. So somehow we see that the word righteousness comes with the people who restricted their own passion, their own inner energy that is totally ruled by emotion. When Yosef controlled himself, he became righteous. When Benjamin totally controlled himself, he made no mistake in his life, he became righteous forever. So the month of Scorpio, the month of Cheshvan, is the month that can be two different things, two different energy. A month that I can totally control my life, my behavior, my reactive behavior, and become a vessel for the life force of God that comes in the month of Tishrei. So when the Scorpio controls its reactive behavior, when the Scorpio is a good Scorpio, it receives all the life, all the light. No sign, hey Scorpios, no sign can generate and manifest light like Scorpio. And no sign can destroy the light like Scorpio. Of course, the ultimate darkness is with the ultimate light force. And I talked about the ark of Noah. And I said Torah goes into details of give the measurements to the ark. What's the secret behind it? Ark represents what? Represents a salvation from destruction, from chaos. And that is in the month of Cheshvan. The building of the ark with all the measurement, the details of it, is like giving this description, the chemical component, if you like, of the force that can totally bring protection into the world. And one thing else, when we want to purify ourselves, you know the concept of mikveh?
Yeah.
The mikveh, the ritual bath, is a place that we immerse ourselves in it and we become pure. The flood of Noah is two things. Either a destructive force that destroyed the earth, the bad earth, the negative aspect of earth, or it becomes like a mikveh. Mikveh that purifies us. So this duality that we see in Scorpio is all about these two different forces. And flood in Hebrew, I'm going to tell you this too, this is very cute. Flood in Hebrew is mabul. The numerical value of the mabul is 78. 78 is 3 times 26. 26 is the numerical value of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So the mabul, the Cheshvan, this amazing force that can be totally destructive, as the embodiment of the total light force of God. Here you go. That's the Scorpio.